Thanks, Martin. I've been very moved here listening to the addresses by Mary and by Kevin, and I feel I've very little to contribute. I'm a survivor of electroshock treatment. I was first administered to me when I was 19 in a private hospital in Cork, where I was detained for 6 months against my will, and they were shock treating me every week, sessions every week. So I've had a huge amount of it. Later on in the public system I received more shock treatment, and some of it against my will, and I regret it every day, because I find it may be a story I heard from somebody or an article I've read in the paper. A day or two later I can't remember. I can't even, I just have a vague idea maybe of one thing. And when I was at work it was an awful hampering to me. I thought it was due to the psychiatric drugs I was taking at the time, but in the 90s I came off my medication and expecting that my memory would then recover, and to my horror my memory was actually as bad as before. And I feel just the whole psychiatric system has blighted my life so much, and it has blighted the life of so many people and taken the lives of so many. It's just a very cruel system, and it's time that it came to an end, that the era of psychiatry would just come to an end. I'm sorry I can't give you facts and figures because I just can't remember them. Thank you.
Well done, Colette. Very good, Colette.
Hello, my name is Martin Hines. I'm an ECT survivor. I was given ECT at 18 following a rather odd experience. I'd become hooked on prescription drugs. So I had a nitrogenic illness, and the cure the medical profession had was to electroshock me. I must say I've suffered all my life as a consequence of this, because it's a very severe brain damaging illness, or a consequence from it, and I would like to see ECT banned. I don't think there's any justification for continuing it. At the present time, psychiatrists are justifying the continuation of ECT on the basis that it's a necessary treatment to treat people who are not responding to particularly antidepressants. A lot of people who are depressed are claimed to be benefiting from this. This is a claim made by the psychiatric industry, and it's a rather ridiculous claim, because depression as an illness barely existed until the late 80s, until the appearance of a so-called cure, which was really a way of making money. The emergence of Prozac in the late 80s led to a rash of prescriptions for depression. Depression was barely recognized before that, and then we had an epidemic of depression. And this was being treated with Prozac, Seroxat and other similar drugs, which were proven in clinical trials to be not any better than a placebo. Now, a placebo is about as good as nothing, so they weren't any better than nothing. And they're causing an awful lot of damage, huge amounts of harm. So when those useless drugs weren't working, and this is the situation at the present time, they're reverting to ECT. So if somebody has a life event and they go to their doctor, it could be a very small thing like the death of a pet or something like that, and the doctor will put them on antidepressants. Then because the antidepressants don't work, they'll go in and they're electroshocked. So they'll end up being brain damaged because their goldfish died. So it's all a little bit silly. And another major argument doctors are using, and it's been trotted out time and again, is the story that somebody was nearly dead. They were dying, they wouldn't eat. And that electroshock was used to save their lives. And that, they tried every other treatment, and no other treatment would work. Now again, I think this is a kind of ridiculous claim, because psychiatrists don't try every treatment. They only try the ones that are profitable, the ones supplied by their Siamese twin, the pharmaceutical industry. There's a whole lot of treatments which they ignore and don't try at all, which might well work. So I would be appealing to our Dáil deputies in particular that they might take notice of this, because this whole thing is costing a small fortune. And as a Connacht man, I think I would look to one Dáil deputy in particular who I think might have something to offer here, and that is a certain Mr. Flanagan. Because Mr. Flanagan would have a cure. Since he stopped smoking a certain substance, he might have a stash building up, and it's known that if you use this particular thing, the most resistant revulsion to food is overcome, and you're afflicted with a thing called the munchies. So the psychiatrist shouldn't need to use ECT anymore. So I'd call on Mr. Flanagan to maybe come to the aid of our psychiatrists in this area. Now, my whole experience with all of this has been terrible, and you know, it is a very serious matter, and I think ECT should be banned. I think I'll leave it at that, and we'll pass on to another speaker. Thank you.